So let's start talking about these games coming up this week. First on Friday night, this one's delicious. Houston at Arizona. Arizona is a 1-point favorite at home against the surging Houston Cougars. It should be said, Willie Fritz is turning that program around. As abysmal as that TCU Houston game was, the loss is looking a little bit better with each passing week. Can the Cougs pull off a win against another Wildcat team? They already beat Kansas State this year. Can they do it against Arizona on the road? What do y'all think?
I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I do actually think that Houston has finally turned the corner. I am super glad that we played them at the beginning of the season. Because if we played them now, the way Iowa State's been playing, I think the roles would be reversed.
Yeah.
I personally do think that Houston's going to come out of Tuscan, Arizona with a big old dubs.
Why is Arizona favored? Like, I want to know that. I don't understand. Like, have the bookmakers not watched Arizona play their last 5 games? Like, and just so Brownie, if you don't know, I'm in Arizona, and the local media down in Tucson are they are like wanting to fire Brent Brennan already. Like, it is hot seat central.
Not hot.
It really is. Like, there's no joke about it. They're looking into, like, can we get rid of this guy? And this is a school that has a president on the way out, an AD that just got fired last year, and they have a new AD, and then they a 1-year football coach. It's not looking good. So my wife is an alum of the University of Arizona, so I will say bear down and go Cats. But unfortunately, I think the Houston Cougars will come out victorious on Friday night.
Yeah, you look at that schedule, Arizona has beaten absolutely no one of consequence, right? That Utah win that was so great early on in the year looks like nothing anymore. Yeah, I'm really coming around to favoring Houston in this game. B-Mac, what do you think?
I think that Houston wins by 2+ scores. I watched us play Arizona. I watched us run them out of the gym. I just don't know what the hype is outside of their receiver McMillan, but yeah, I think Houston wins by at least 2 scores, maybe 31-17. Houston.
Man alive.
That would be something. I mean, I that would only make the hot seat churn even harder for Mr. Brent Brennan.
Isn't McMillan also like almost dang near 50% of Fafita's passing yards?
Yeah.
Or he's pretty dang close to it. Like, all you have to do is double or triple team that guy, and their offense just it's bad. Yeah. And I thought our offense was bad.
Not good. Hey, you know what? As Iowa State fans, TCU fans, Colorado fans, Cincinnati fans, we all know it could always be worse.
Oh, 100%.
It could always be worse.
It could be Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
much worse.
Exactly.
Hey, man, I've been in the Okie State train before. I do
last
not
year,
want to get back on that thing.
That was us last year. Yeah. No thanks.
So before we continue on, I completely it slipped my mind in all the excitement of Brownie deciding to join the show, but got to do a quick ad read for us to let you know about Mark Rogers' new book. It's available on Amazon right now. This should interest you, B-Mac. Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historic 1990s Reset. This book dives deep into the chaotic world of college football championship decisions during the 1990s. I always go back to that 1990 season and what a wild finish that was between Colorado, Miami, Georgia Tech, all claiming national championships. This pivotal decade reshaped the sport in unprecedented ways, leaving fans and experts alike questioning the system and legitimacy of crowned champions. Disputed National Champions also takes the outcomes of the decade and projects those results into the BCS era and various playoff models of the future. Give this one a look. It's only $9 or $10 on Amazon right now. Great stocking stuffer. We're getting into Christmas season. Go give her a look. All right. Now, let's talk about – go ahead, B-Mac.
We won fair and square, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
The 1990 National Championship.
BMAC, we're trying to sell books here. Come on, man. Like, you got to read the book.
Yeah, B-Mac, you gave it. Spoiler alert! Oh my god!
Spoiler alert, man.
Come on, man.
But let's keep talking about those Buffaloes. Utah going to Boulder for the 11 a.m. game. Colorado now the second team in the Big 12. Thanks a lot, Cyclones, for that one. Is a 10-point favorite in this game. I personally, there's no way Utah doesn't have a Holy War hangover in this game. I think Colorado rolls. What do you guys think?
Only 10 points.
Yeah.
Are we serious with this right now? Isn't Utah like on their fifth string quarterback at this point? Like, do they even have a quarterback, or did they just grab a fan from the stands and throw him in pads?
Did
Like-
they ever have a quarterback? That's the real question.
The quarterback was
Valid.
just the friends we made along the way. That was Utah's quarterback this season.
Yeah.
Basically.
B-Mac, how big are your Buffs going to win?
I wouldn't be surprised if we won by 35 plus. But
I like this
I will
guy.
say this. I'm not going to give you a score prediction quite yet because you have to wait till Friday for that. But I do think that will force a lot of turnovers. We obviously have to slow down the running game. Obviously, Robert Livingston is one of the great minds in college football who, after the first possession, Robert Livingston is one heck of a mindset when having to do with those halftime adjustments and adjusting after the first possession. Because I saw a stat that I think we're only giving up averaging like one score in the second half against every team all season long, and I think in the second half against Texas Tech we forced like 3 turnovers in the second half. We outscored them after being down 13-10 or 13-0. We outscored Texas Tech 41-14 and ran Texas Tech out of the gym. And I think that we'll be able to do the same against the Mormons of Utah and beat them by 5+ scores.
I mean, how can I follow that up? You know, like, is there any? Well, I mean, I guess they had some experience with the 10 a.m. local kicks last year. With big noon kickoff and everything. So I kind of wonder if that would be a little bit of a tough start, early. But I feel like maybe like the second half is going to be where Colorado like turns it on. I could see it being a little bit close in the first half. Utah does have a decent defensive front still, and they still have a good defense. And it could just take a while. Like I will give BMAC some credit here. Pat Shurmur, he's been shouted out a couple times this week. He's really turned that offense around, and I think I kind of thought they were crazy for letting go of Sean Lewis last year, but all credit to the Buffs and Shadur and Travis and all of them. And then, they've started to run the ball a little bit better. So I kind of wonder if it'll be more of a second half pulling away, more of a, what would you say? Like it's like an iceberg melting. It'll take some time, but unfortunately, it might happen.
Yeah.
So, the polar ice caps. Watch out for those guys.
Eyes on the polar ice caps. Hot take. So the Colorado Buffaloes, man, they may be 7-2 on the field, but they are undefeated against Texas Tech equipment managers. I can tell you that much. Do not back down from a equipment manager who just wants his dang ball back. All right.
I'll sign his tortillas at halftime.
Yes. All right. So Baylor is surging, y'all. They are playing like I never thought I'd see them play with Dave Aranda again, heading down to Morgantown for games with West Virginia. Baylor is a 2.5-point favorite against them Mountaineers. How do y'all see this one playing out? I got Baylor in this one.
I also have Baylor. I think that they've definitely turned a corner, and yet again, I am extremely grateful that we played them at the beginning of the season before they got their stuff together, because I do think that kind of low-key sneaky pick. I don't think that I see really anything on Baylor's schedule that scares me the rest of the season. We might be looking at an 8-4 Baylor Bear team by the end of the season. They're away at West Virginia. I mean, the Houston game might be the most toss-up game that they have left on the schedule in Houston. And then they host KU. And I mean, I really think that they turned it around. After that Iowa State butt whooping that they took, they must have taken that extremely personal and decided to take it out on everybody from in the old Big 12 South.
Yeah.
I'm also
Yeah,
really
first in a
glad we
big
played
way.
them early. We will probably not be coming back down 14 points against Baylor if we played them after that Texas Tech game, or after they played Texas Tech. I do think Baylor will win and stay hot against West Virginia.
So unfortunately, my Cincinnati Bearcats had to play against these West Virginia Mountaineers on Saturday, and I want to share with you guys the praises of Nico Marchiol. He's the backup quarterback for West Virginia, and I think he should be starting because while Brendan Sorsby did gift West Virginia 17 points, Nico Marchiol was throwing some deep balls on Saturday. So West Virginia having a home game, Neil Brown needs probably another win to like stave off more billboards in Morgantown. So, giving the Mountaineers at home 2.5 point dogs, I might take them on the money line this weekend. Who knows? So, I am just very interested to see what they do with the rest of the schedule. They've seemed to bounce back from 2 tough losses to Iowa State and Kansas State, both at home, back-to-back weeks when Neil Brown was talking about making sure that the fans come out. So I'm really interested to see. And then they have 2 winnable games after this Baylor game as well. So could we see another 8-4 West Virginia team this year? Arguably could be 9-3 if they didn't drop that one to Pitt too.
Yeah, they really should have won that game against Pitt. I mean, when you look at the schedule, and this is no shade to Cincinnati because I think Cincinnati is criminally underrated. I mean, Cincinnati, let me say this. Cincinnati is currently their most impressive win, I think, by far. But if they manage to beat Baylor this week, it'll definitely be their most impressive win. And then you got to start talking about staving off all of the fire Neil Brown folks for yet another year in Morgantown. Trust that climb, baby. Trust the
man
climb.
Is fighting for his job.
What is he not fighting for his job? He's always fighting for his job.
That's like the crazy part is the man like has the hottest seat ever, and then all of a sudden they go on a rampage and it's like, oh my god, Neil Brown is our Lord and Savior. Like let's sign him for a contract extension. And I was like, you literally wanted to murder this guy 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And they're like, nah, that was another me.
That was me on the moonshine is what that was. Yeah. All right, let's look at Arizona State, Kansas State, the Sun Devils, also another team in the midst of a great first year in the Big 12, heading to Manhattan for the 6 p.m. tilt against the Wildcats. Cats are a 9-point favorite. Arizona State is much better at home than they're on the road. I would be stunned if Kansas State does not win this and cover the spread. What do y'all think?
I'll wait for last on this one.
Give me the Kansas State Wildcats in this one.
Okay.
They cover.
Okay.
And they will even though I want Arizona State to win for our purposes, but I do think that that Kansas State's quarterback is a top 3 quarterback in the Big 12, behind Shador, behind I don't know who else, and then Kansas State. Those are the top 3. Those are personally the top 3 quarterbacks in the Big 12. But give me Kansas State by 15 points.
15. Okay, interesting. I don't know if Kansas State really thought they were going to be here at this point this year. They've taken 2 bad losses, and that was the last time we saw them was a bad loss against. Well, I don't know if it's a bad loss anymore. Houston has shown that they are going to be better, and BYU is obviously a top 10 team. But I don't really think Arizona State is built enough yet to travel east and win games just yet. I think they're a good team, and when they played Cincinnati, they had their quarterback out, so I'm not really going to mark them down too much for that. But going to Manhattan is just a different trip, and as someone who has to experience that next week, I am not looking forward to it. So I don't know. I'll say that Arizona State covers because 9 is a lot of points, but I would not be surprised if Kansas State was able to just, steamroll and, become the purple people eaters that we all thought they would be. But, Arizona State, man, shout out to Kenny Dillingham. He's really turned that program around year 2 after the Herm debacle, and they're 7-2. It's like just crazy. I really want like that program to be good. And I'm really impressed with them.
Doing it for the millennials, man. He's doing it for our generation.
I was doing one of these guys. I was with these guys doing that.
Stand on your head.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Arizona State's schedule, and they're night and day when they're playing at home versus on the road. They've been undefeated at home. They're 2-2 on the road, and both of their losses came to the two competent teams that they played. Oklahoma State's a mess. Texas State dang near beat them, and Texas State is not a terrible team at all. That's why I don't think that they're going to have the juice against Kansas State. Road game in Manhattan at night. That's just a tough place to win. But listen, Arizona State's already winning, man. For Arizona State to be sitting at 7-2, third in the Big 12 after last year. I mean, I don't know how you're not walking on cloud 9 if you're a Devils fan. Absolutely. You got any thoughts on it, Brownie? Did we already hit you?
I was actually going to make a comment because I thought that Arizona State was going to win last week. And I was going to say that Arizona State was the most fraudulent 7-2 team in the Big 12. And then we lost. And now I'm starting to think that Iowa State is the most fraudulent 7-2 team in the Big 12. So it's kind of interesting to me that Arizona State has rised as quickly as they have, especially given all the circumstances. I absolutely love Scadaboo as well. Yeah. I think he's one of the better running backs in the Big 12. Obviously, he's not an RJ Harvey or a Taj Brooks, but he definitely gives a lot of value to that Arizona State team. I just unfortunately don't think that their depth is as deep as Kansas State's. And I think that's what's going to play a major role in this is Kansas State has the depth to where they can plug in any player off the bench, and you really don't lose out a lot of that performance. Where Arizona State, you drop out maybe one of your 28 rotational players, and you're really starting to scrape kind of the middle to bottom of the barrel. I do think that it's going to take them 1 or 2 more years to really get a big grasp on joining the Big 12, all of the traveling, which, a lot of our teams are starting to figure it out. I mean, most of the current Big 12 got to figure it out last year because of all the East Coast traveling and some of the travel to BYU out on the West. But with Arizona State just constantly being in that Mountain West Coast region, they really didn't get to experience all of the 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour differences. So I honestly think that K-State's just going to steamroll these guys. I do think that they're going to put up double digits on them. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Arizona State just pulls it out at the end. Could happen.
Could happen. All right, before we hit our last 2 games of the upcoming week, got one more sponsor here real quick. Here we go.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk, 6 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under the radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
All right, so we've got a Bearcat in here and a Cyclone. Let's talk about the Cincinnati-Iowa State game. The Cyclone
Just kidding.
Brownie immediately disappeared. Iowa State is a 9-point favorite in Ames for the night game. You know, it being a night game, I tend to go with Iowa State in this one. But like I said before, I think Cincinnati is criminally underrated. Nobody's talking about them, and it's entirely unfair because, I mean, they may be one of the best 4-loss teams in the country. I personally think I'm extremely worried about that Cincinnati game when TCU goes up there the weekend after Thanksgiving. I don't know. What are y'all thinking? Can the Bearcats pull off an upset here and keep Iowa State on the schneid, or does Iowa State get the win at home in front of the night crowd? What's happening?
Yeah, so our only road game we've won this year is against UCF, and that was just a slog of a game. It was a game where you never felt truly confident until the clock hit 0 that the Bearcats were going to pull that one out. And I don't know if really UC has been able to survive a road test this year. Unfortunately, 2 losses in conference at Texas Tech and to BMAX Buffaloes, as he mentioned early on in the show. It's just been one of those years where I think Cincinnati has left a couple games on the table. And, there's still talk with Scott Satterfield, even on the timeline here in Cincinnati, with Cincinnati fans, about how, he's not really getting the most out of this team. And Brendan Sorsby, I joked that he gave West Virginia 17 points last week, but I kind of feel like that he's had to play a little bit of hero ball recently, just because he was really good at the start of this season and he was really getting to his receivers. And while the running game has slowed down a little bit, offensive line has gotten digged up. He's felt like he has to be able to will the Bearcats to victory. And just our other 2 night road games this year have not really gone well for us. So I will never pick against the Bearcats, and I'll never pick the Bearcats to lose, but
as you shouldn't.
Yeah. So I'll pick them to cover the spread, but it just seems like this could be just a disaster waiting to happen, us going into Ames. And losing that West Virginia game, you're unlikely to, it's possible that you lose out and miss a bowl game, which would, I promise, not be good for the coaching staff here.
Man, what a disaster that would be. Ugh.
Yeah.
One of you guys is really going to like my opinion here, and the other one's not going to like it at all. Steve, you're going to be the one to like my prediction here. Although I think that Cincinnati covers the spread, I'm giving you the cover the spread. I am not giving you the win, though. I'm giving that to Iowa State because I know how you guys play on the road. I've seen how you guys play on the road. Maybe that's because you came into our hostile environment on that one Saturday night 3 weeks ago and lost to us. But I will say this, I like your receivers and I like your quarterback and I like your running game. I've never seen the Cyclones play before. So, therefore, give me the Cyclones to beat Cincinnati this week, but only by 3 points.
Okay.
That's
I think you take that, Brownie, though, right?
I would take a 3-point victory at this point, yes. Do I think we're going to have a 3-point victory? No.
I'm hardly ever right.
Cincinnati, I think, has a couple of advantages. The first one I really think that they got extremely well is transferred Jared Bartlett. I think that the super duper uber super senior that seems like he's also been in college for as long as Cam Rising is going to make a big difference in this game. He's definitely good off the edge. He's great in the middle. He can plug up holes. and he can clearly bring a lot of pressure through sacks. Cincinnati's defensive line is also fairly solid. Dante Corleone, the Godfather, is also extremely good. You can never really count at least that front, I would say 6, since you guys still kind of run that 3-3-5 stack out of a game. And Iowa State's offense is currently struggling when people bring blitzes and pressure. With the amount of film that I've been watching with Cincinnati, they cover their blitzes extremely well. They do bring a lot of pressure through the middle. Their linebackers are almost like additional defensive ends. And that's kind of worrisome for me, especially the way that we've currently been playing. Our offense is still missing our tight end, Ben Bramer. Rocco Beck looks a lot more comfortable throwing in between the numbers than outside. And that needs to be filled by a receiving tight end that I just don't think we currently have on the roster. Our defense has definitely looked extremely poopy. Couldn't even stop Jalen Daniels, Devin Neal, Wombo combo, double option, triple option junk, and whatever the heck we basically guaranteed Jeff Grimes an extra week of college football. But it's a night game in Ames, and it's just, I don't think it's going to feel the same. Vibes are down in the Cyclone community. I still do think that we show out, but it's going to be one of those where if we go down by a touchdown, maybe 10 points or something like that, I think the stadium starts clearing out, whether it be in the first half or not.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. From what I've been seeing,
we're 7-2. Like what?
I know, and it's kind of weird because as a lifelong Cyclone fan that has seen the down days of like the Gene Chizik rebuild into Gene Chizik getting us 7-8 wins, and then Paul Rhodes basically burying us into the ground, like I'm still extremely happy that we're 7-2. Like I love it. Like seven wins right now with 3 games left on the table and a potential 10-win season still in the cards. I'm absolutely loving it. I think 9 or 10 wins again this season, huge success. But a lot of Cyclone fans are starting to think that Matt Campbell's ceiling is that 7 wins. And as soon as he kind of hits that 7 or 8, it's just coast the rest of the season, focus on next year kind of thing. And I think a lot of Cyclone fans need to be humbled, but I'm really hoping that we don't get humbled with another loss because I really need this 10-win season.
Yeah.
Well, and Brownie, real quick, Tyson Veit returning to Iowa State. Do you think that helps Iowa State at all, knowing the defense that they've seen with this guy? It's not the same obviously as Matt Heacock's defense, but it's in the same vein. At least it's within the coaching tree.
Yeah, and I was actually kind of pissed off at you guys for the entire offseason for taking him away from us. I do believe that he deserves the job. And it's just kind of unfortunate that we weren't really able to retain him and potentially be like, John Heacock's successor and all this other stuff. But it's I think it's going to give us more of a distinct disadvantage on offense playing against you guys, because we've noticed that the offense hasn't changed overly much from Tom Manning to Nate Shieldhouse to Taylor Mouser. And being in that system for so long, I think just gives him that little extra that he kind of sort of knows what our offense and Matt Campbell is thinking. But yeah, it's going to come down to the wire, and I might be internally screaming and then externally screaming later, but hopefully we can get the monkey off our back and get to 8 wins.
Trying to avoid another cameo like this one.
Oh, dude,
I don't want sad Iowa State fan.
I was actually going to clip that and send it to you when you were messaging me on Saturday. I was like, this is my vibe, Clint.
But hey, my last thought on this game, I mean, and common opponents don't really amount to much, I don't think. But when you look at the common opponents for Iowa State and Cincinnati, it's kind of fascinating how similar the results are. Cincinnati loses a game to Texas Tech. They should have won 44-41. Iowa State loses a game to Texas Tech. They should have won 23-22. Cincinnati beats UCF in a very close game on the road, 19-13. Iowa State beats UCF in a very close game, 38-35. And West Virginia, that's the big departure there. Obviously, Cincinnati losing 31-24 at home, whereas Iowa State's able to win the Riot Bowl 28-16 on the road. But really similar results there in those three games. I mean, this is the decider, I guess, as to which of these two teams is for real.
We might also potentially lose because Cincinnati has Will Levis as quarterback. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
We had no problem with him.
Why?
That was just so bad.
It was rough, man. It was rough. I was in my living room just like, no.
I saw your guys' tweet and I was like, what did Sorsby do? And then I saw the highlight and I was like, what was Sorsby thinking?
Well, yeah. And what was Scott Satterfield thinking? I mean, you're up 7, you're at home, 4th and 1. I get being aggressive. Just kick the field goal. You go up 10 points, pin them deep, and let your defense keep rolling. And then, yeah. So, yeah.
All right, let's bring it home with BYU, Kansas. The Cougar Tails are going to be flying. The chocolate milk is going to be flowing at 9:15 p.m. Provo time as the Jayhawks roll into town. BYU is a 3-point favorite as they try and keep this undefeated dream season alive. Kansas surging, though. I mean, shoot, we saw them just decide to play football all of a sudden against Iowa State. I don't know where that came from. Do y'all like the Cougs to keep this thing going, or is Kansas turning into something? What do y'all think?
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Oh,
Okay.
What he said.
Brandon just wants to be first in the league. That's
What he
I've never
said.
felt that feeling before. Give me Kansas by 10.
By
Ooh,
10.
10
Wow.
points.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow. I mean, we saw what happened the
BYU
last
was
time.
overrated.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
We saw what happened the last time a Kansas team went into LaVell Edwards Stadium at night. Like, I tell you what, guys, having experienced that stadium at night, it is completely different. Like it changes a team. It changes a man. Like it's really been, their ace in the
You
hole.
started
this
saying
year.
maybe there were golden plates.
Yeah, like maybe Joseph Smith was on to something. I did climb up a mountain when I was in Provo, like maybe, just maybe, like the Secret Lives of
Had
Mormon
the
Wives.
divine intervention.
Yeah, there is a lot of things going on there. And, I do think that, like you said, Clint, the 2022 TCU comparison is apt. I think it's a good comparison just because, the similar fire drill field goals, being able to just win close games despite not really being, people asking like, how do they keep getting away with it? And
Hashtag thanks Big 12 refs.
yeah, well, hey, big collusion, man. Come on, Brownie. We got to get one team in this
Collusion?
thing.
For real.
Not in
Well,
the Big 12.
Never.
Never.
Maybe 2 if BMAC gets lucky. But yeah, I don't know. I think BYU will win and cover, and I want to see a great game here because I think this is setting up for another classic Big 12 after dark game. And I just want to see another great game, just like we did last weekend. But I kind of wonder if BYU's going to be coming off the high of the Holy War and just gonna smoke Kansas on Saturday night.
Trap game.
Yeah, it could be they're coming off at high, but it also could be that trap game, and you have a swoon after the big emotional Holy War. Tell me, Brownie, why is it a trap game? This is their last result, by the way.
I mean, I kind of said this, I think, last week. I think KU was the most underrated 2-6 team, and now they're the most underrated 3-6 team. I really think that this Kansas team, if Jeff Grimes was not their offensive coordinator, probably is top 4 in the Big 12. They have the talent, they have the athleticism, they have the depth. Their corners are extremely scary in a league that has a lot of passing teams. Um, I I just feel like, especially after watching how they dismantled Iowa State, that Jeff Grimes must have had the backroom talk where he's like, "Hey, buddy, like one more game and old Yeller, you know, out back." So I'm actually taking Kansas in this one, and I do think that it's gonna be KU versus both BYU and the rest. Calling it collusion.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a world. This is the definition of a trap game. There's definitely a world where Kansas can win this game. But let's be real. These are all grown men playing for BYU. Okay, they're all 32, and they've all got 6 kids already. You know, I mean, they've got mortgages. They know the rent's due. Okay,
Insurance agencies.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You know,
Whole
it's a night game. It's 9:15. I just the vibes to me don't say upset. The vibes to me says the magic stays alive for BYU. At Arizona State the next week, there my eyebrows raised. Right, maybe that's one that BYU drops. But Kansas at night at home. I think it is like a close game. I think it is. I think that 3-point spread is very fair, right? I think it is a tight one that they have to survive. But it's that Arizona State game. That's the next one that I'm thinking that maybe BYU can't escape unscathed in that one. But I want them to. I want them to be undefeated. I want the Big 12 to have one of the 4 byes, in the playoff this year. Hopefully. So, but I guess
Me too, but it's
we'll
the
see what
wrong
happens.
colors.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know. See, I don't know because I don't know if it was Colorado that won the Big 12. Does Colorado get one of those top 4 spots? I mean, I hope so to represent the Big 12, but I don't know with 2 losses if they give it to them. There's just so much anti-Big 12 bias in ESPN
SEC bias, Big Ten bias. I
Yeah.
mean, even the ACC is starting to show more love on ESPN, and it's sickening.
Yeah, it's gross.